Ma'am here, and then we'll go to Sir back there.
Hello, thank you. My name is Maureen Coates, and I am a two-time evacuation survivor of hurricanes in the Battery Tip of Manhattan, of all places.
Yeah.
One of the most important things we've been doing in the wake of climate change influenced storms is to alter our floodplain maps. And we're seriously rethinking programs like Build It Back in New York in the wake of Sandy, which has gotten nowhere in the last several years. We, in addition to thinking about how to build it back, we're also thinking about whether to build it back. And we haven't talked about that yet, that for many, many centuries, if not millennia, human beings did not intrude into certain ecosystems on the grounds that the air, land, and water capacities, coupled with the air, land, and water systemics, were not conducive to human operations. And now that we have the climate changing again, and as severely as we know it is there some room to start thinking hard about, you know, essentially human zoning, if you will, in a macro sense? You know, are there places humans should be rethinking whether they really ought to be, or and then consequentially, if we decide to be, what it's truly going to cost to manage a risk from the natural and physical interactions that are going to ensue?
If there was one good thing about Puerto Rico being hit, it's got elevation to it. So the storm surge wasn't the big problem there. It was the wind and the rain and the elevation. Unlike St. Martin or Barbuda or some of these others, that just get wiped out. People will live, in my opinion, in Puerto Rico forever. I mean, that's their home. They'll go back. You might say it's going to be hit by another Category 5 hurricane next year. They're staying.
I wasn't necessarily asking about Puerto Rico specific. I'm asking based on the kinds of policy activities your organization is.
Go ahead.
Well, if I could add to that, I'm doing some early stage work, but work nonetheless with Conservation International on this very set of issues, which is, our first true line of defense. If you want resilience by design, you look to nature. Mangroves exist for a reason, and they're nature's way of saying storm surges are real, and we will adapt. Barrier reefs are really pretty darn good when you have your island is being affected, as are mountain ranges, which Puerto Rico, being mountainous, spared many communities of the worst of the wind. And so I think this, one of the problems of trying to externalize, rationalize, and create an economy around big, complex natural events is that we create moral hazard. Not to get too sophisticated, but the people bearing the risk don't bear the cost of the risk that they bear. Why do we continue building back with bricks and sticks in Tornado Alley? Why is our flood system and insurance system on floods the way it is? And effectively incenting folks to go back exactly the way they were. The principle of the core principle that drives the insurance market is indemnification. I will get you back to the state prior to the loss. But that's the core question you're asking right now. And enough of these disasters are occurring back to back to back. These are all extraordinary century, millennial type events that have occurred in 2 months. We have to ask these core fundamental questions about what are we doing with our coastline. In Florida, for example, why are we continuing to build in places that already today you land an aircraft anywhere in the state of Florida and you're seeing water seep up, right? Climate change, go long on climate change, short underground parking on Florida. That's my stock tip of the day, right? But resilience by design is sort of the opportunity you've described.
I'd add, I'm a big fan of cities. People like to live in